Good afternoon, anti-novelists and friends. Welcome back to episode 103 of Zettelkasten for Fiction Writers, where imagination finds order. So, 3 things today. Number 1, I want to talk about some of the next steps in the zero draft process. And this addresses a question that came from Cynthia on character voice. So we'll do that first. And then I'm going to answer a question from Aaron about flagging cards that have been used so that you don't use those ideas or pieces of information again. And then number 3, third question comes from Christy, and it is about how my writing workflow looks and if I use a writing program. So first, let's get over to Cynthia's question, where she asks, I'm working on following my characters in my head, and I'm wondering if there is some way to zero draft that sound. And so from the context of our conversation, what she means is the sound of a character's voice in your head. So here's what I'm going to have you do. I want you to take out a note card, handy dandy note card, and I want you to write down what you believe your character's name to be. Okay, so in our pretend story, we named our character Robert. So I would label this card Robert. And then I want you to just start talking. I know it sounds crazy, but stay with me. Just start talking out loud and think, what does Robert sound like? Okay, is he gruff? Is he short and to the point? Is he very academic and uses academic words and kind of a sophisticated language? Place that character on a continuum. Are they over here and use basic, plain spoken, kind of down to earth language? Or are they over here and they use academic, more formal language? Once you get them on that continuum, then I want you to start describing things in that character's voice. Just pull out a Word document and start typing, pull out a notebook and start writing by hand, whatever floats your boat. I want you to just start writing descriptions in that character's voice. So, for example, if my character is a wacky Southern grandpa, okay, he's going to say things like, that girl is madder than a wet hen, okay? He's going to say, that is worthless as a bag of hammers. Whatever kinds of things that character would say, just write them down. Get a sense in your own hand, whether you're typing or writing, for what does that character sound like? How do they describe their world? If you're dealing with an academic, someone who uses a very sophisticated language, maybe when you think of them in your head, they have a British accent, because often an accent is associated with a more academic way of delivering things. Think of the Bodleian Library and Oxford University and a very academic approach. So that is your first assignment. Get some descriptions. Just pick anything in your world. Pick something on television, pick something you're looking at, pick a mood, pick a person, and have your character describe in their own language that person or thing that you've chosen to describe. And then allow that to lead you into grasping what does that character's voice sound like in your head. Trust me, the more you do this, the better that power of voice will show up in your head, and the better that character will be. So that is your first assignment. Just literally choose some things around from your life, people, objects, whatever, and describe them in your character's voice. Okay, next thing. When we're talking about our zero draft process, we're working on character voice now. So as we continue through this process, next we're going to start looking at what kind of story you want to write and how to make choices in order to get to that story. So that's the note card for tomorrow. We'll get to that then. But let's get to these other questions. So we're going to come over here to my Zettelkasten, And the first question, or rather the next question, comes from Aaron. And Aaron asks, Victoria, how do you flag or label cards in some way so that you don't use those same scene ideas or details again? Excellent question, Aaron. No one has ever asked me this before. And it's funny because this is a problem. I don't know if it's a problem. It's a workflow that I have literally solved just recently because I came across some details and thought, ooh, I need to put those someplace because I've already used them and I don't want to reference those same things again. So here is what that looks like. If you've been following me, you know that my novel lives in the 7,000s in my Zettelkasten. So here's what I've done. I've gone through and I have labeled up to the number 73, one tab for each chapter of my novel. Because as some of you know, my novel is finished. It's in the middle of its developmental edit, but I've set that novel aside in order to write the Zettelkasten for Fiction Writer's book for you, so I can help you get your book done. So in that process, I already know what's in all of my chapters because the book is written. So here's what I've done. As I come across either cards that are filed still in my plot box when I was doing the actual plotting out of my book, or cards that I have collected maybe in one of my mobile decks, like some scenes, or some cards about Tara, my main female character, or whatever, what I've done is I've gone through and I have simply filed those cards that I've used in the chapter where they live. Okay? So here, if I'm looking in chapter 1, I've got Meeting the Book, and I've got the Clover Offensive. Okay? So that's something that happens in that chapter. Over here, in chapter 2, I have a quote from Isaac Newton. I can calculate the motion of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people. I love that quote. And I'm incorporating that sentiment, but not the direct quote, in chapter 2. So that's why that goes there, because I don't want to accidentally use that again by sticking it someplace else, meaning that it's available. So anything that is filed here, 1917, we've got a Providence quote from Otto von Bismarck. So anything that gets used in a chapter is now filed under the chapter where it lives. So I hope that answers your question, Aaron. That just helps me keep same with same. Whatever chapter the thing appears in, the card gets filed under that chapter, and this will always live right in the front of my 7,000s box. So that's that question. Several other excellent questions and inquiries from Aaron. I will take them one by one and answer those as I go. So finally, to answer Kathy's question, what is my workflow and how do I write? Well, here's a really good representation of that. So I've got my favorite pen, which is a fountain pen. I absolutely adore this retractable fountain pen. It writes like a dream, super smooth, and I can refill it without getting ink everywhere. And a sharpened number 2 pencil, baby. That is generally what I do my hand drafting with. It's always in a notebook. I know I'm violating Scott Scheper's rule about the yellow legal pad, but I don't like to have my pages folded over the top of a legal pad. That really bugs me. I can't do it. So I write in spiral notebooks. So this is a really good example of what that looks like. Sometimes I'm clipping or stapling a card to the page until I'm done using it, and then it's going to get filed back over in my note box. Of course, I've got a little washi. Tatsuya, if you're watching, I absolutely love the kitty, the animal washi tape. It's awesome. I love presents. Happy Mail is one of my favorite things. Here's a couple of cards that are stapled here. Again, handwriting, more cards laid out for the writing process when I'm doing it by hand, okay? Generally, my process always begins writing, taking notes, working off of my note cards by hand. Then I go one of two places. Either I'm working on, this is my Remarkable Pro tablet. I just got this about a month ago. We're still dating. We're not completely in love yet, but I intend to love this little machine. So you can see here under my files, I have, for example, my Zettelkasten for Writer's Book. And if I open that file, you can see I have both typed and written with my stylus by hand. Now, the groovy thing I love about this as a tool is I can write by hand and it will convert it to text, and I can send it to my Dropbox. I can send it to my Kindle account. I can sync this up any place I want that document to go, and it does the work of translating it from handwriting into text, or, written, typed out. What am I trying to say? I'm tired, guys. It's been a long day. Okay, so the next thing, Christy, that answers the final piece of your question is yes, I use writing software that's called Scrivener. So quickly over here in the left-hand column, you can see I've got my Fusion writing documents. I've got my Zettelkasten for Fiction Writer's Book, which is what I'm writing for you. And then I've got my novel manuscript. Now, generally, those 3 books would all be divided out into their own Scrivener project. I don't like doing that because I only want to work in one place. So all of my books, the 3 books that I'm writing or have written, live in this one project. And then I can just open that project by clicking on it. You can see here, like we've got Act 1 of my novel is right here. I can open that up, and then I've got all of the chapters in Act 1. So referring back to Aaron's question, anything that I used to write these chapters, if it's on a note card, it is now over in my Zettelkasten, or it's going to get put into the chapter where that item was used. And then I will never go back and reuse it because it's already filed in the chapter where it lives in Book 1. So I love this. I can click on a chapter. The whole text is there. I can move these chapters around. Scrivener is very friendly, very easy to use. So it's just what works for me. I know some people use Google Docs. Other people use other writing programs. I have just found that for me, Scrivener does the job, keeps my word count. I mean, it's super easy. I don't even know how to use all of the fancy bells and whistles. I just keep it basic. And I can import into it. Like if I write text on here, convert it from handwriting into typed, then I can import it into here. And I find that workflow works for me. So that's what I do. I do not write or type in Google Docs generally, other than for a backup. This lives on my computer, right? So I don't have it synced to back up to the cloud anywhere. So at the end of each writing session, I grab what I've worked on, that gets pasted into a Google Doc that is saved in my Dropbox so that I have 2 backups of everything that I write, because some of you who know my story know that within 1 month's time, a couple of years ago now, both my new laptop crashed and I lost everything on it, and my removable hard drive crashed and I lost everything on it. I lost years worth of work. So I am now a crazy fiend about backing up my backups, and also, as you know, always having a hard copy. Every time I finish a chapter in an edit or writing, I print it out and it goes into that chapter in my Happy Planner. So I've got a hard copy. So I hope that helps. That is the process that I use. And I stick to it. I don't vary. I don't experiment. I know what works for me, and that's what I do. So I hope that helps, Christy. Thank you for the question. Aaron, thank you for the question. And Cynthia as well. I so enjoy showing up and helping you guys find your way. If anything that I have used or tried can help light your path towards getting your book done, your work done, I'm here for you. I will share anything I have found in the hopes that it might help you. So I'm going to leave you there today. As I said, I have injured my back, and so I am just going to take the day off. It's, let's see, it's 3:30 here on the Cattle Ranch. I've got a huge pot of chili cooking in the kitchen. The whole house smells amazing. So I think I am going to treat myself and go do some leisure reading. I've got a couple of books I've been wanting to read, so I think I'm going to do that. Since yesterday, this is a milestone, guys, I did an amazing chunk of writing, and we are now at 43,953 words. And those, my friends, those are good words. Those are not needing to be edited. They're not lacking anything. Those are super solid finished chapters. So we're getting there. Slow but sure, guys. We are getting there. I am getting this book written for you so that you can get your book written. As always, thank you so much. I love having you guys with me on this journey. Keep the subscribers coming. I'm grateful for every single one of you because it means that's another person who maybe I can help along their journey. And I will just keep chugging along. So I will leave you there for today, and I will see you all tomorrow.